All right, guys, welcome back to Press X Podcast. Welcome back to the stream. And welcome if you are new. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. And as always, thank you so much for waiting patiently. Today, we are talking about PS3 backwards compatibility on PlayStation 5. We have a new report to go over that claims this is something Sony is going to be rolling out. We don't have an exact date, and of course, we are going to have to take this with a pinch of salt, as with all rumors. But I have a couple of other previous rumors that we've heard in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years that seem to kind of help back this up a little bit. And yeah, we're going to have this discussion today. Should be interesting because I know a lot of people are pretty passionate about the PS3. I know a lot of people are pretty passionate about things like backwards compatibility and yeah, so we'll go over all that today. Give you Metal Gear Solid 4 on your PS5. Yeah, I'll probably talk about Metal Gear Solid 4 specifically at some point because that's one of my favorite games of all time. And I get the feeling that might not be a game that's part of this, mainly because of Konami. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me once again today. I want to just take a moment to thank everybody. If you're tuning in live, really do appreciate that. If you're somebody who likes to watch the live streams but can't and you have no choice but to watch them later, I just want to make sure to give you guys a special shout out as well. I really do appreciate that. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Hitting the like button lets me know you guys enjoy the content and it helps with YouTube's algorithm. You already know. Let's see if we can get up to 100 likes in the next 15 or 30 minutes. That would definitely help out. I want to let you guys know a couple of ways you can help support the channel, help support the content before we go over this report and have this discussion. Number one, consider becoming a channel member. You gain access to exclusive perks. One of those perks is the Members Lounge. We did a Members Lounge yesterday where I played for the first time Hi-Fi Rush. So we have a nearly 2-hour stream of me playing Hi-Fi Rush for the first time. So if you are a channel member, be sure to go check that out. If you're not a channel member, again, consider becoming one. If you are a channel member, consider gifting memberships. It's a big thing we do here on the channel. Not everybody can afford a membership, so being able to receive a membership gift is a big deal for a lot of people. How was Hi-Fi Rush? It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I could see why people are so upset that it won't be getting a sequel, but I don't know that it's necessarily for me completely, you know? But the quality's there. The quality's there. I can tell you that. Now, the third way you can help support the channel is you can donate a super chat, ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between. It helps tremendously. There is a fourth bonus way. There's a direct donation link at the top of the chat. So if you want to donate directly to me, where 100% of what you donate goes to the content creator, and you can still leave a message, just like a super chat, that is another option. Okay? So just a big thank you, as always, for those of you who support the channel directly. I can only do these streams. I can only do this podcast. I can only run this channel because you guys make it possible. So thank you so much. But let's dive into the report here. Apparently, I accidentally closed the tab. Not a problem. I got it up again. All right, so this is being reported by PlayStation Lifestyle. Sony working on PS3 backwards compatibility for select games. Report. Rumor has it that Sony is attempting to bring select PS3 games to PS5 via backwards compatibility. PS3 games are currently only available on modern consoles via PS Plus Premium's streaming service, which is not available in a large number of regions due to lack of appropriate infrastructure. The rumor in question comes from Xbox era's Special Nick Baker, who has a somewhat mixed reputation when it comes to leaks. However, as of late, Baker has been spot on with nearly all of his leaks, so we're not dismissing this one right away. According to Baker, if Sony's efforts bear fruit, select PS3 games will run on PS5 and possibly also on PS4 natively, and no streaming will be required. If true, this means that PS Plus Deluxe, the alternative to premium in non-streaming regions may finally get PS3 classics as part of the catalog. Full PS3 backwards compatibility and emulation remains a pipe dream. It has often been theorized that PS3's complicated infrastructure is to blame for the lack of cross-gen support. But with Sony finally starting to bring PS2 games to modern consoles, it's speculated that first-party PS3 games might now get the same treatment. Now, this is the latest report. Okay, this is the reason why I'm even bringing this up. We have a somewhat reputable leaker claiming that this is what Sony is getting ready to do, specifically with select PS3 games. We have Bismarck129 here with a super chat saying backwards compatibility with PS3 games or PS3 emulation for PS5 like we have seen with PS1, PS2, and PSP? Question mark. Yes, that seems to be what he is getting at here. He seems to be making it somewhat clear that by saying select PS3 games, and he did, Special Nick did explain on his podcast when he was revealing this information that he tried to get a little bit more information, but he wasn't able to get much. But hearing the term select PS3 games seems to heavily imply that Sony will treat these PS3 games very similarly, if not exactly the same as what we see them do with PS1, PS2, and PSP. This wouldn't be a surprise to me because, I mean, if you think about it, it's been working, right? Whatever method that Sony has been using to bring PS1 and PS2 games over, although I don't know that we don't have that many PS1 games, and we're just now starting to see PS2. We've seen some PSP games. It's kind of been working in the sense that for the people who do care about this stuff, for the people who do care about backwards compatibility, I mean, of course, there's always like the demand, like we want more, right? Like we want you to do more. We want you to bring more games over. But for what they've been doing, they've been slowly improving, very slowly, but it's been working. I do have other rumors and reports that I want to bring up from the past that I think help lend more credibility to this rumor. However, I want to focus for a moment on the idea of select games and the fact that if Sony does handle this the way that they've been handling it with like PS2, PS1, and PSP games, then unfortunately it's not going to be as perfect as people would hope. What I mean by this is, boss, I will escort you out of this room, boy. Already starting to wreak havoc. What I mean by this is if you are somebody with a PlayStation 3 game collection, right? You have disc-based PS3 games. This is not going to be a situation where you can just pop your PS3 disc in and then boom, you can play the game. It's not going to work like that. It's going to work the same way that we're seeing with PS2 games, where if you want to play any of the new PS2 games that Sony just rolled out, you're either going to have to buy them a la carte or you're going to have to subscribe to PlayStation Plus Premium to be able to access them. And obviously, it would be amazing if we could get backwards compatibility to the level where you could just pop in a disc and play it that way. But especially with something like PS3, I don't think that's ever going to be on the cards. We have Bismarck129 with a follow-up super chat saying, could PS5 Pro have backwards compatibility? Well, it's interesting that you ask that question because we think again about the timing of this, right? The timing of this is coming right after we are getting the announcement of a new batch of PlayStation 2 games where Sony is showing a renewed commitment to bringing PS2 games over. They have a new partner that they're working with to create the emulation for these games. And I don't think it's perfect yet, but it seems to be better than what we've gotten in the past. And so it's showing this renewed commitment. We do know that the PS5 Pro is coming, likely this year. Could this be some kind of special announcement that Sony is saving alongside something like the PS5 Pro? Maybe. It's a possibility. I think it would be very smart, actually. It would be a really easy way for people to kind of just suddenly get very excited about PlayStation because it's like the mythical idea of PS3 backwards compatibility, and Sony, yeah, like a 30th anniversary announcement. That's another good speculation there. It is possible. I don't want to. Again, this is just a rumor, so I don't want to like run with it too much. But something I want to point out here that is definitely worth bringing up is the fact that, and I've tried to explain this to people before, Sony will not be able to rely on the cloud streaming PS3 server blades forever. I mean, they could obviously use them for some time to come, but eventually these PS3 server farms, these PS3 server farms, they're they're not going to hold up. They're eventually going to just start to kind of crumble. And hold on, you need to get down. Come on, you gotta get down. When that happens, Sony's going to need to have some other solution in place for PS3 games and allowing people to access this entire generation. And for those wondering, well, why hasn't Sony done this already? Why hasn't Sony um, done anything with PS3 backwards compatibility to any extent? Well, for those who don't know, although I do think most of you do know, the PS3 is a notoriously difficult piece of hardware to work with. It's actually so difficult that every single game developed for it was developed in a relatively unique way. And because of this, it will take Sony quite a bit of extra time and effort and resource to properly set up this pipeline for PS3 backwards compatibility. But this is where I do start to believe this rumor to be true, because I'm going to bring up another report here. This was published on April 9th, 2022. It says a new PlayStation report has good news about PS3 backwards compatibility on PS5. The exotic architecture of the PS3 has haunted PlayStation for many years. Not only did it cause developers headaches during the PS3 generation, but it's been a pain in the side of PlayStation, who have been unable to emulate PS3 on PS4 or PS5, which means backwards compatibility has been limited to streaming via, at the time, PlayStation Now. PlayStation gamers were hopeful this was going to change with the new PlayStation Plus, but that was announced recently with no word of PS3 backwards compatibility. That said, according to a new report, PS3 backwards compatibility is coming to PS5, though it sounds like it won't be full backwards compatibility, and it sounds like it's been a nightmare for PlayStation to figure out. The report comes from Moore's Law It's Dead via Sacred Symbols, who claims Sony has been working on cracking the code for PS3 backwards compatibility for years and is finally starting to get closer to realizing this hard work. According to Moore's Law Is Dead, Sony has had more or less to create many different micro emulators within a larger emulator in order to run various games. Why has it had to do this? Well, the report claims because of the PS3 architecture and how various developers had to deploy various tricks and solutions to work with it. That's why they had to basically create micro emulators within a larger emulator. So rather than just create one emulator for all PS3 games, Sony basically has to create a special emulation studio by studio, and what they're basically saying, game by game. This is not only a lot of work, but ensures that when PS3 backwards compatibility does arrive, it will be limited, probably largely to first party. Still, some games is better than no games for many PlayStation fans who have been desperate to revisit some of the trapped classics on PS3. Now, keep in mind, this report from Moore's Law Is Dead is from April 9th, 2022. So yesterday, June 23rd, 2024, we hear from Special Nick Baker that, yeah, they're bringing PS3 games, and it's going to be a select few titles. We look at this report from 2022 for Moore's Law Is Dead. He says that Sony's been basically working hard behind the scenes to crack the code, to figure this out, to get it up and running. And at the time, Moore's Law Is Dead did not make it sound like it's ready to go. He didn't make it sound like it's something they're going to be announcing anytime soon. He was just saying it's something they're working on. Now I have a third report here, and this comes from WCCF Tech back in 2022 as well, April 6th, 2022. And it says, hold on. Sony recently announced an extension of the PlayStation Plus program. And at the time, PS Plus Extra and Premium, they talked about classics with PS2 and PS1 and PSP. And they said, of course, users who saw this didn't really like the approach since PlayStation 2 and PS1 games were being properly emulated in Sony's version of backwards compatibility. Thus, a huge backlash formed. And we already went through all that. That was in the early PS Plus Extra and Premium days. But it says, well, it seems like at least Sony is working on some type of solution when it comes to PS3 backwards compatibility. That's according to Jeff Grubb. According to his sources, Sony is working on an emulation solution for PS3 games on PS5. The solution might be implemented at some point in the new service's lifespan, but not immediately, as it might take some time to implement. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm compiling all of the different rumors we've gotten in the past couple of years and all of the different sources. So if we line it up, we have Special Nick Baker yesterday saying that the PS3 backwards compatibility emulation is coming for select titles. That's what he's been told. If we go back to 2022, Moore's Law is Dead said that, yes, this is something Sony is in the process of working on, and it's going to be quite difficult for them. And then also back in 2022, we had Jeff Grubb coming out and saying the same thing, that Sony is in the process of working on PS3 emulation, so that way they can start bringing PS3 games over, whether it be on a case-by-case basis, but for PlayStation Plus Premium. So when I put all of this together, I am sitting here thinking, while still taking it with a grain of salt, that, yeah, this seems somewhat likely, right? It seems somewhat likely that Sony is going to want to fully flesh out something like PlayStation Plus Premium when it comes to the classics by being able to at some point say, hey, on top of PS2, PS1, and PSP games, here are some PS3 games as well. And of course, that's going to get people very excited. No matter what games they choose at first, right? It's going to get people very excited because they're going to be like, finally, we're here. We did it, right? Like, the sky is the limit now. And I would say that if we do end up seeing this announced at some point in the next couple of years, although it sounds like it might come sooner than that. Really quick, Marcos, you're saying MBG Jeff Grubb has now said that he heard that a PS3 emulator was in development and that it was supposed to be announced at the beginning of the year. Interesting. Well, if what you're saying is true, then that seems to insinuate that this announcement might be closer than we think. Maybe this is what Sony was saving it for. Maybe they were like, listen, we're approaching our 30th anniversary, and that would be an easy home run. It would. It would be an easy home run where I think that, PlayStation fans have, like, let's be honest, they've been desperate for those who care. Those who are big fans of the PS3, they've been desperate to hear Sony, like, kind of acknowledge this and talk about it and possibly give us some kind of hope that, yeah, we are gonna pursue backwards compatibility with PS3, just like we are with PS2 and PS1. Instead, Sony's been pretty silent about it. They haven't said anything about it. And so it has led people to kind of assume that, well, I guess Sony is just going to kind of ignore the PS3 generation and they're just not really going to bother with it. But I think that would be a huge mistake because, I mean, come on. Like, the PS3 generation, in the eyes of a lot of PlayStation players, is when Sony started to produce some of their best work, because their back was against the wall and they had no choice but to really, like, get it together and start producing a lot of great games to bring people over to PS3. And it's true that there are quite a few games that still just, you can go on PC and emulate some of these games, but that's still very awkward considering it's like, well, you would think if you were to subscribe to something like PlayStation Plus Premium, you would think that the option would be there where it's like, oh, yeah, You're subscribing to this service and you're paying all this money to subscribe to this service so you can not only have access to the catalog of PlayStation Plus Extra, but more importantly, all the classic games. And then there's just no PS3 whatsoever. You know, it always just made sense to me that Sony at some point would want to work on this, that they would want to make it a reality. Just because, I think it's an easy win. I'm not saying that they're going to win everybody over and suddenly it's going to skyrocket PlayStation Plus Premium. And listen, I've made my stance on this clear many times. I don't really go back and play old games. I just don't. It's ultra rare that I do that. However, I've never been against Sony doing something like this. I've never been against backwards compatibility because I do think it's important, and I do think that it's kind of like the responsibility to an extent, right, of the platform holder, where it's like, you have these classic games, you have these libraries, like these extensive libraries of games, and of course, it's unrealistic to expect everything, but you can't do that. I want to address this really quick. Somebody in the chat saying, I see you are blocking people on X because they are answering politely to your questions. I know exactly what you're talking about. No, that person that you're referring to, go check their profile. They are retweeting clips of me. They're reposting clips of me, disingenuous clips coming from people who don't like me and want to slander me. So, yes, those people I will block. I don't need to have them anywhere near my my content. Just putting that out there. I wasn't going to block that person because I didn't care about their answer. But I checked their profile and they are literally retweeting clips from a known individual who just only serves to try to slander people. So it's like, yeah, I'm not going to just let people like that, have access to my Twitter. But just have to put that out there. Yeah, just because I just don't want things to be misconstrued. Like, I'm not going to block people for just saying what they want to say. I get hundreds of replies of people being, snarky and stuff. I'm used to that. I don't like the idea of entertaining people or allowing people to easily access stuff knowing that they're following things like that. Because things like that, I've expressed my frustration with them in the past. They only kind of cherry pick and look for specific things that suit their agenda. I don't want anything to do with that. And I don't want anybody who has anything to do with that anywhere near my content. That's it. But anyway, when it comes to, thinking about how Sony could roll this out, I mean, again, we think about the PS5 Pro. We think about the fact that it's going to be the 30th anniversary of PlayStation. So we kind of have two big things coming up at the end of this year. I do think that could be just a really easy kind of cherry on top, if you will, moment, or the icing on the cake moment, if you will, where it's like, here's the PS5 Pro, here's some games we have for it, here's what it's doing. And maybe they'll release like a PS1 DualSense for the 30th anniversary. And in doing that, they could also just kind of throw it in there. Oh, and by the way, we have a big update for PlayStation Plus Premium. And just for our PlayStation Classics lineup, we're bringing our first batch of PS3 games. Let me ask you guys this. When you think of the PS3 and you think of the PS3 catalog, I would have to imagine if Sony were to announce this, if this is a thing that is true and they're working on it and they're going to announce it at some point, the 30th anniversary is in December, by the way. What games? Let's say it's like 3 games, right? Sony takes 3 PS3 games. That's going to be the first batch, the first wave. So it has to be a high impact announcement, right? And it has to be high impact games. Metal Gear Solid 4. I want to, yeah, a lot of people are saying Metal Gear Solid 4. I want that too. But I think Konami is going to be doing Metal Gear Solid 4 for the Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2. So I don't think that they're going to allow that. You know what I mean? I think Konami wants that game to stay stuck on PS3 so that they can give you a real reason to buy the remaster on the Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 2, and I will absolutely buy that. So I don't think it's going to be that. But I don't know, man. I feel like, I mean, I see people mention like Killzone. Killzone would be a good one. But I feel like Sony might want to be careful because I think Sony has to also consider that whatever games they choose, you know, there's definitely going to be people who kind of run with it a little bit, be like, oh my God, they brought Killzone 2. So they must be making another Killzone. It's like, well, no. Resistance 1. Yeah, I do wonder what games they'll bring. Motorstorm? Motorstorm would be an interesting one. SOCOM, possibly the God of War collection. We have PlayStation Pete here with a $10 super chat. Thank you for that, PlayStation Pete. You're saying you once said people who play video games on PlayStation play single-player story-driven. Backtrack to games. Did you see my trophies tier on your Twitter? Tell Jim I said hello. I did. Yeah, I did see your trophy tier. If I'm not mistaken, PlayStation Pete, you're like level 600, right? I'm pretty sure that. Yeah, I know I saw it. Pretty sure you were level 600, which is impressive. You're saying I once said that those who play video games on PlayStation play single player story driven games. Yeah, So I think what you're referring to, PlayStation P, is there have been times where I've like generalized Sony, right? And like the type of experiences that they're known to deliver and the type of experiences that the more core fan base is attracted to. And I think that comes in the form of, you know, single player narrative driven experiences. However, I have also said, especially in the past couple of years, as I've really learned a lot more about the PlayStation ecosystem and the business itself, I've also said that it's clear multiplayer plays a massive part. I mean, like a massive part of the entire PlayStation ecosystem. If you go look at the top 10 most played games right now on PS5, I'm pretty sure all of them are multiplayer. There's not, I don't know if there's a one single player game up there. Not to say that like, you know, these big single player games that Sony creates aren't important. They absolutely are. I think Sony would lose a massive part of their identity without them. But over the years, I've kind of realized that, yeah, multiplayer is just as important to PlayStation and the PlayStation player base as single player is. And that's why I do think ultimately Sony is wise for realizing that, you know, you should have more multiplayer games. Again, I don't know that something like Concord is what people are necessarily asking for, but just to know that we see games like Helldivers 2, we see something like Concord, and we know there are going to be other multiplayer experiences. It's just nice to know that Sony is not, you know, kind of pigeonholing themselves into just, that's all we make, right, is just single player games. But there are absolutely PlayStation players who would want that, right? There are absolutely PlayStation players who would just simply want to see PlayStation make single player games. And I get that. I get that. Exactly, Raven. It's all about balance. So, PlayStation Pete, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Sly Cooper's blowing up on the PlayStation Store. It's clear people want a new one. I did see that, yeah. I saw a couple of reports saying that Sly Cooper is like the big winner of the PS2, like the latest batch of PS2 games that they put out. It's doing pretty well. I mean, yeah, you'd be surprised, man. Sony they track this stuff. They certainly do. And sometimes they can use this stuff to kind of gauge the interest and, is it something they might want to think about pursuing, a new Sly Cooper. I will tell you, I don't think Sucker Punch is going to make a new Sly Cooper. I don't think they're going to do that. I think if we were to get a new Sly Cooper at some point, I think it would likely be made by a different studio. Although, I don't know. Maybe if Sucker Punch wants to, after they release like something like Ghost of Tsushima 2, maybe they want to take a little break and they want to do something a little bit different in between to kind of shake it up a bit. Maybe they could return to Sly Cooper after that. And we have King Sam here with another $5 super chat saying, please tell me you're going to beat Hi-Fi Rush. It doesn't need to be streamed. And then give us a final review. Give Tango a full chance, unlike Microsoft. I don't know, King Sam. To be honest, that would be a difficult thing for me to honestly say to you right now that I'm going to do, because there's a chance I might, but what I can say, King Sam, is do not be shocked if I don't, right? Don't be too surprised if I don't, only because I do want to start playing Demon Souls again. And I saw this game pop up recently. I don't know if you guys heard about it. It's called Still Wakes the Deep. Have you guys seen this game? This just kind of popped up on my radar recently. It's a short horror game, but it looks actually pretty sick. And then that's on top of, I want to try that game, The First Descendant. And then, it really depends on where I am. I can tell you this, King Sam. After playing Hi-Fi Rush for 2 hours, it didn't hook me. Honestly, it didn't. I like what it's doing. Like, I have an appreciation for what it's doing, but it didn't leave me feeling like, man, I really want to get back to this. It's one of these things where, from a more objective standpoint, anybody that I've encountered who was saying that Hi-Fi Rush is a good game and a well-made game and a game that Microsoft maybe should have a greater appreciation for, or should have had a greater appreciation for in the end, I agree with that now. I always kind of looked at it and I'm like, well, I don't know. I will say this, King Sam. The biggest thing that surprised me with Hi-Fi Rush is it's way more in depth than I expected. Like, I almost wonder if Hi-Fi Rush suffered from a like just a people having the wrong perspective on the game. Because I could tell you my perspective on the game was wrong until I started playing it, where I thought Hi-Fi Rush was a very small game. Like a very small, just simple, basic, like, not what it actually is. I didn't expect it to be that in depth. I didn't expect it to have so many different systems. And I honestly just didn't expect the production value to be overall as high as it was. And so it is kind of crazy, even just for the short time I played. Because, I didn't play it that long. I played about 2 hours. For the short period of time I played, those things did kind of strike me where I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that it was all this. And it makes me feel a little even worse for Tango Gameworks, to be honest, because, like, yeah, you're saying it should have never been shadow dropped, should have had proper marketing. I would have disagreed with that if I didn't start playing it, right? I would have disagreed with that because I still thought, marketing it would have helped, but maybe a game like this should be shadow dropped. It's a small, what game should have been shadow dropped? Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2 should have been shadow dropped, and Hi-Fi Rush shouldn't have been. Hi-Fi Rush has a lot going on, and there's a lot to unpack with it. From, again, based off of what I played, I am shocked that they decided not to properly market this game. And you do have to question how much that may have potentially hurt it, or how much different things could have been if they didn't market it properly. But it's interesting because while I was streaming it, a lot of people were also telling me that, they played it and it's one of their favorite games and it was a really great game. And I'm like, it's just so bizarre. The whole situation, the way it's all played out, it's just very bizarre to me. But yeah, King Sam, I don't know that I'm gonna really go that. I'm not sure I'm gonna go the distance with it. I'll let you know Like there are other games I do have to get back to. Yeah, I got to get back to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That one's gonna be, I don't know. The only reason I haven't gotten back into it yet is because I know once I do, I'm gonna have to hunker down. That's a game where I'm gonna have to hunker down, and it's like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to continue the journey and finish it and see it through. Um, you're saying maybe get back to it after everything else. Yeah, the door's open. The door. I'm leaving the door open. I'm not gonna close it. Um, but I definitely can't make any promises. I was curious after I played it yesterday to see how it left me feeling, like if I really was going to feel like I'm hooked and I can't wait to get back to it. Unfortunately, I have, well, it's not unfortunate, but the way I feel about going and playing Demon Souls is what I would need to feel that way right now towards Hi-Fi Rush in order to go back and play it. Where after I played Elden Ring and platinumed it, I kind of got that itch, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good. Like I'm back into the kind of flow of From Software games here, not counting Sekiro. The more Soulsborne formula. Um, maybe I'll go back and play Demon Souls, and that's what I'm going to do. I just reinstalled the game. I'm going to go back and play it because I'm just feeling that I'm in that flow right now. The From Software flow, and I'm curious how much I'm going to play of Demon Souls. I have this idea in my head that maybe I'll platinum it. But if I don't, I'll probably go to the DLC for Elden Ring. I'm actually really curious. I'm getting more curious about the DLC. So I want to put this out here really quick, just on a little side note. I've been seeing a lot of conversation happening um about the DLC being like crushingly difficult, and there's discourse around From Software and around a product that they've made and the difficulty level. And after looking into it for a little bit, it seems like what's happening is there's a specific item, and this item is scattered throughout the DLC that you're supposed to seek out, and it's like a permanent upgrade where once you get enough of them, it lowers the damage that you take from the DLC enemies and the DLC bosses. And the whole idea is you're supposed to seek these out to mitigate that damage and then fight the bosses. And you should have a much, not easier, but like it should feel a lot fair, where you could take more damage and not die in one or two hits. And it just seems like most people, or a lot of people, don't know that. Like they're just playing it and not realizing that there are these items scattered about that you need to find, or you should find. I guess you don't need to, but really you're kind of supposed to, in order to stand a chance and make your life a little bit easier. So I just thought that was interesting. It seems like a lot of people just weren't aware of that. You're saying, nah, it just exposed a lot of folks who won't put in the effort in the game to get good, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's kind of what you're saying. Like they're not putting in enough effort to get good. I will say, a game like Elden Ring, even just to platinum it, definitely takes a level of commitment. No doubt about it. We have Ultimate Despair Bear saying Infamous 1 and 2. Also, I doubt Sony will let your PS3 discs work like Xbox does. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's one thing I can confidently say. Like, I mean, that would be nuts. That'd be absolutely nuts. But no, it's not going to happen. You're not going to have Sony come out and be like, here, guys, here's finally some PS3 backwards compatibility. And if you own these discs, you can use them. I don't think so. No. It's going to be, you're going to have two options. Either buy them a la carte from the PlayStation Store, and you run them through the emulator and you just play them that way, or play them through PlayStation Plus Premium. I think those are going to be the only two options. And I think some people might be a little upset about this, but realistically, I wouldn't be upset, because it's like, man, it's just nice to see Sony doing something here. Even if it's not for me, it's just nice to see that they care enough to do this. Because here's the truth. Here's the truth about backwards compatibility, right? The truth about backwards compatibility is not as many people as you would think seem to care about it. Where it's not that it isn't important. I'm not looking at it on a level of importance, because I do think backwards compatibility is important. I do think these companies, again, kind of embracing their heritage, their catalog, and their libraries, and doing everything they can to make them accessible, even if you have to pay for it, but just making them accessible for people to play. I do think it's important. But I think that there's this kind of misunderstanding sometimes where that the people who are really wanting backwards compatibility for these much older games, it's not nearly as many people as you would think. Like it's actually a pretty small, like in the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty small percentage of people. Um, and that's why I try to have the attitude that I do, where it's like, listen, I'll be honest, like I'm not one of those, like I'm not over here being like, man, I have like a whole list of older games I want to go back and play. That's not true, but it's like I do come across quite a few of these people who do feel that way, and that's where it's like, I want to be encouraging. I don't want to be that person that's like, Sony, I don't care if you do anything with backwards compatibility, don't do anything with it, whatever. I just feel like, well, no, I mean, Sony, you should. Like, it might not be the most amount of people, it might not be the biggest audience, but there are still loyal players, people who have supported you throughout the generations, and they kind of, they're just. I think what they're asking for is not something crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think it's a crazy thing to be like, man, I bought the PS3 and I played the PS3 and I played a lot of these games on the PS3, and here I am 2 generations later, and I kind of just wish I had an easy way to just play some of these games. I really don't think that's a crazy thing to ask for. Maybe because of the nature of the PS. Sony probably thinks it's crazy, right? Sony's probably like, what are you, nuts? Do you know how hard it is to develop games for the PS3? But I hope it's true. I hope the rumor's true. I hope it's something they're working on, because it's something that I just think would go a long way. And you know, we have these conversations about, like, is Sony listening to the fan base? Are they paying attention? Do they care? And I'm not saying that like they're just gonna do this out of sheer good, like just goodwill, right? No, they're gonna try to make some money off of it, and I think everybody pretty much understands that. But I think it would go a long way in kind of like sending a signal that, a lot of you guys thought we weren't ever going to do this, and we did it to an extent, right? Like we went out of our way to do this. Um, I think that, yeah, I think that kind of sends a little bit of a message. Yeah, that could be the rough part. You're saying they're asking you to spend more money on their higher tier subscription. I do think that that's where it gets. Yeah, it's like, okay, well, so if I own PS3 games, I still can't play them. I would have to subscribe, but I don't know, man. For me, it really comes down to what will the pricing of these games be on the PlayStation Store? Because like let's just use Metal Gear Solid 4 as an example. Sony may come out and they're like, listen, you can now play Metal Gear Solid 4 natively, or through emulation on your PS5. And it's like, here are your options. You can either buy the game and own it digitally, or you can subscribe to PS Plus Premium. My question would be, how much would the game cost to purchase? And if they're like $10, I'll be honest, like, okay, like that to me is like, yeah, I'm not gonna sweat that. If that's a game I really want to play, and the only thing that's getting in the way of me playing it on my PS5 is just, $10, and I can add it to my library on PS5. Yeah, that, like, to me, that's really not that bad at all. But if they're like, oh, it's gonna be like 30 or $40, I'd be like, oh, Jesus, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So as long as they keep, the price relatively cheap and affordable, I think that there are even some games that they sell where it's like $5. And like, that's like, to me, that's really not bad. I do understand where if you're somebody who owns a physical copy of the game, you know, Mulan, you're saying PlayStation lets you buy all these classic games on PS Plus, though. What are these lies? Do you mean separate from PlayStation Plus? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can buy all of these games, like the ones that are out there right now, PS1, PS2, and well, PSP. Pretty sure you can. Yeah, you can buy them individually, right? Am I wrong about that? Not all of them? Oh, really? Okay, that is kind of sad and a little concerning. Although Mullen is saying yes, you can. Wait, hold on. It sounds like you can, because this person says, yeah, I bought every single one outright. Hmm. I'd have to go, I think, explore this myself to see. Am I going to play Metal Gear Solid 4 Sons of Liberty? What Metal Gear is that? You mean Guns of the Patriots? Chris says you can buy them. Space Gambler Jr. says, I haven't seen any that you can't. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I could have sworn, I mean, it was a while ago when I checked, but at one point I did go check to see like the classic catalog, and it seemed like everything that was announced was there. So and that one, I think that's smart. You know what I mean? Like, I know Sony wants to get people to subscribe to the higher tier PlayStation Plus Premium, but at the same time, it's like you just make a little bit of money off of people. You know, even though it might be again a small percentage of people, make a little bit of money, price it fairly. I think that there are plenty of people who care about this stuff that are like, yeah, okay. What games do I want to see emulated? Oh, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we talked about it multiple times, but Metal Gear Solid 4, but I don't think that's happening. I think that's coming from Konami themselves at some point. I don't know. Like, there are quite a few PS3 games I didn't play, like the Infamous 1 and 2. Never played them. I did play Infamous Second Son, and a lot of people were telling me, like, man, the first two are actually a lot better. Um, I mean, I did dabble in Killzone a little bit way back in the day. I mean, it feels so long ago, but I only played it like very briefly. I only played like a couple of multiplayer matches. And it was pretty cool from what I remember, but it's just in. I think at the time I was like hooked on Call of Duty or something, so I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna stop playing Call of Duty to play this. Um, Marius says you can buy all 147 classic games available. Okay, so there's 147. Max Payne 3. Can we get some Max Payne 3 up in here? I'd love this. Like, that's a game I feel like I would go back and play. Yeah. Army of Two. Oh man, I forgot about that game. I forgot about that game. GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption 1. Well, I guess you can play Red Dead 1, just not like, you know. Yeah, I agree. Max Payne 3 is a masterpiece. Max Payne 3 is amazing. Jay Shako, you're saying you just bought Sly Cooper? Yeah, we were talking a moment ago about how that seems to be doing pretty well. Sly Cooper seems to be doing pretty well. All right. Oh, hold on. I lost my stream. What happened? I lost my chat for a moment. Hold on, guys. Okay, we're back. Heavenly Sword. I forgot about that one too. Heavenly Sword. Wasn't that like a launch PS3 game? I appreciate that. You said you were listening to yesterday's stream. You like my take on it? I appreciate that. PS Gamer says Warhawk. Oh yeah. Didn't they? I think they made 2 Warhawk games, right? Wasn't the second Warhawk game like way different? Or am I off the mark with that? I could have swore the second Warhawk game was like way different. Starhawk. Yeah, it seemed like Sony really was trying to make something with that. Fear. I played Fear. Yeah, Fear was a great game, dude. Fear was a great game. Siren. I never played Siren. Starhawk is underrated. Yeah, I never played the Warhawk game or Starhawk. Um, I did play Fear though. I really liked Fear. Fear was like, I don't know if Fear was just like way better than it felt like it had any right to be. That's kind of how I remember it. Resistance, never played the Resistance games. A lot of people talk about those games though. I see a lot of people on my channel talk about Resistance. They would want it to come back. They want to see somebody do something with it. They trademarked Siren. I wonder if Sony is planning on bringing Siren back. I don't know. I feel like they wouldn't do that though. The Activision Wolverine game, the tie-in movie game for X-Men Origins. I played that, dude. That game was awesome. That game was like so good. It was like crazy good. Yes, stuff like that maybe I would consider if they were to come. Although I don't think you're going to I don't know if you would get a Wolverine game like that. You're saying I have to play Resistance Fall of Man. My goodness, it's an amazing game. Ridge Racer 7. Yeah, there's a lot of games that Sony could tap into, man. It's really just up to them. It's up to what they really feel. Um, well, it's to be honest, it's not fully up to them. When it comes to their first party catalog, it's fully up to them. But when it comes to different publishers, they obviously they have to get permission. There's licensing and stuff like that. So I think it would be a safe assumption that if this is something Sony announces anytime soon, relatively safe assumption that it's probably going to lean very heavily into first party stuff first. But I guess we'll see. The Battlefield games. Yeah, that would be an interesting situation. Because I played Battlefield Bad Company 1, Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3. They were good games. Really enjoyed them. But I enjoyed the multiplayer as well as the single player. So I wonder, are the servers even online for some of these games anymore? Skate 3. Sony, please make Skate 3 one of the first. Now that's a game. That's a game I would go back and play a lot. Skate 3. Yeah. Yeah, it's already on Xbox Series X and 4K. Yeah. Yeah, I'll buy an Xbox. It'll be my Skate 3 machine. SOCOM would be cool. That's an interesting question, Avin. So you're saying, do I think Metal Gear Solid Delta will have multiplayer? Oh man, I wish. With the new mechanics, I freaking wish, dude. I don't even want to talk about that. I feel like people don't know about that. People don't know about Metal Gear Online 1. Does anybody here know about Metal Gear Online 1? Did anybody here buy Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence for the PS2? He says, sorry, bro. Why you gotta do this to me? If you bought Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence, it came with an online multiplayer. And man, the memories I have with this game, it was so, it wasn't perfect, but it was so unique and so good. And when I see the Metal Gear Solid Delta trailer and I see the new gameplay and the new camera angle, I just I sit here and I think like Konami, you could like that game could be made into a live service, bro. Like I it was so good and I just wish they would. That's what makes me sad though. Like that's one of those like things where I'm just trying to be like I'm fully okay. I'm fully okay with just getting the single player, but man, Metal Gear Online 2 that came with Metal Gear Solid 4 is better. I do agree. Yeah, Metal Gear Online 2 made some huge improvements. Much needed improvements. It still had its flaws though. Box popping anybody? Um and at least in my opinion that was a major flaw that like destroyed that multiplayer, but it's funny cuz you could play Metal Gear Online 3 right now. Metal Gear Online 3 shipped with Metal Gear Solid 5, but it's not the same, dude. It's not the same. We know it's not the same. We all know it's not the same. If you played Metal Gear Online 3 compared to 2 and 1, it's not the same. And I'm surprised the servers are still up. I'm shocked Konami hasn't shut those servers down. Yeah, PS Gamer. That basically killed. I remember that's the big memory I have with the PS3. You know, talking about PS3 backwards compatibility, the most prominent memory I have with the PS3 is Metal Gear Solid 4 in its entirety. Because when I think of Metal Gear Solid 4, I'm not just thinking about the single player, I'm also thinking about the multiplayer that shipped with it. Because after I completed the single player, I spent months and months and months playing the Metal Gear Online 2 multiplayer. And one of the craziest things that that happened with Metal Gear Online 2 is it ended up having to get shut down. And it seems like the reason why it had to get shut down was because Konami couldn't figure out how to run it properly. Like, it was the dumbest system. If you installed Metal Gear Solid 4, you had to use the PS3's web browser. Think about this for a moment. Think about how stupid this is. You had to use the PS3 web browser to create a Konami account and ID. And only then could you play Metal Gear Online 2. And they had like the way their server infrastructure was set up was weird. And everything about like the system was just not good, man. And they didn't integrate with PlayStation Network. And I think I think that's what killed it, man. I think that's what killed it. You're saying, dude, now I'm back like 15 years ago. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, man. Like I think Konami pretty much ensured the death of Metal Gear Online 2 by not properly integrating with PlayStation Network and trying to do their own thing. And they lost control of it because people just started like hacking it, you know, like crazy, and people kind of started to ruin it. And it was unfortunate, man. But the Metal Gear Online community was an interesting bunch. Some would say it was toxic, but you know, it was unique. It was unique. Remember how you update the Metal Gear Online 2 when Konami updated it? You got to remind, dude, how did that work? I remember when you bought the DLC packs. I remember how that worked. Konami was so stupid, dude. Like, imagine this. You want to buy a DLC pack that they released for Metal Gear Online 2. Dude, you have to do it through their freaking website. You can't go to the PlayStation Store. And as far as I'm aware, unless I'm misremembering or maybe they changed it, but I swear I remember having to buy that shit from like the built-in PS3 web browser. It was bizarre, man. But Konami did some really cool shit too with Metal Gear Online, where you remember like survival on the weekends and like tournaments and shit. That was so ahead of its time. Konami really like what's so interesting about Metal Gear Online 2 is they effectively made a live service game before live service games existed. They just didn't have the proper infrastructure or pipeline to sustain it. They like, you know, they lost control of it because it just wasn't properly set up. And that's what's so fascinating to me about Metal Gear Online 2 is it legitimately was like ahead of its time. And it's a shame because it shut down I think in 2012. Yeah, their leveling system with the different ranks. I know you could get a ranking, but they had like a leveling system where their leveling system was skill based, which is again another aspect that made it super unique in that at a time when everything was experience based, you just go up and up and up and up. In Metal Gear Online, you were graded on your performance. Like if you started to suck and had bad rounds, like you would lose rank. And people would go nuts over it. It made things pretty toxic, I'm not going to lie. It made things pretty toxic, but they had a lot going on. They had a lot going on with Metal Gear Online 2. And I think it was just too much for Konami to handle. And if you look at Metal Gear Online 3, they streamlined it. Metal Gear Online 3 was not terrible, but it lacked all of the unique charm gameplay wise that the other games did. Like one of the things that was so cool about Metal Gear Online 2 is you could go around trying to like CQC like people and actually play stealth. You'd probably get messed up and maybe you'd suck a little bit, but it was an option. Like you could just kind of hide around corners and shit and you could knock people out. You could try to take their equipment and you could just do a bunch of different stuff. And I feel like in Metal Gear Online 3, they just kind of were like, nah, just kind of run around and shoot people, Oh, yeah, dude, sneaking. Don't even get me started. Now you really got me going. You got me like reminiscing and missing. But there was a game mode called Sneaking where it was a TDM. There were two opposing teams, and the only thing that they were focused on was killing each other. However, one player played as Old Snake, and another player played as Otacon, and you would play as the Mark II. And your goal was to sneak around the battlefield as Snake and try to like knock people out and shit and take their dog tags to win. It was the craziest shit. And Ninja Raiden comes in and drops 5 membership gifts for you guys. It's funny seeing your name, Ninja Raiden, and your profile picture. I remember with Metal Gear Online 2, there was a one of the DLC packs, they added Raiden as a playable character, Ninja Raiden, and oh my god, he was like totally OP, man. I remember that shit. We need a members lounge for MGO2 talk. Yeah, dude, I remember when that DLC dropped with Ninja Raiden and he was a playable character. I remember getting so mad every time I was facing him because he could block bullets, dude. It was so unfair. He'd just run up to you and slice you up. Yeah, deflecting bullets and shit. Did I misspell? Oops. I just realized my member goals misspelled. My bad. Let me fix that. But thank you for that, Ninja Raiden. I appreciate you dropping some membership gifts there. Let me just correct my mistake. There we go. Yeah, good times, man. Good times indeed. I'm so curious about what Konami's planning on doing in the long run with Metal Gear with multiplayer. Because something that's pretty clear about Konami is like they always want, like they understand like we can extract a lot of money from Metal Gear fans through the multiplayer. But they just like, I don't know, they haven't capitalized on it in a proper way. And I just really wonder what if they were to just remake the multiplayer of Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence with the updated mechanics and like camera angles that we have with Delta and the graphics, of course. How sick would that be? Like, I feel like that's such an easy win, dude. Like I'm not saying it would be easy for them to do development wise, but man, they should think about it. They should think about doing something. We have Chris Brown saying PS3 is the most hackable console ever. You could download your own update and hack games. We hacked COD, which allowed us to hack PS3/freeze console. Yeah, Sony clearly had to learn the hard way with the PS3, which is unfortunate. Most hackable console ever. And we have Zanarkand Blitzer. Says MBG, what's this rumor about Sony bringing native PS3 backwards compatibility to PS5? Backwards compatibility based on PC PRCS3 emulation. PS3 physical Blu-ray disc playable on PS5. Cerny and company working on PS3 backwards compatibility for years. So just to give you a quick update, Zanarkand, basically we have another insider who has a somewhat mixed track record, but lately has been getting a lot of things correctly. Special Nick, he's claiming that he was told recently that Sony is bringing backwards compatibility with select PS3 titles to not just PlayStation Plus Premium, but where you can purchase them and you don't have to stream the games anymore. With what you're describing, though, like full, true native PS3 backwards compatibility, like I can put my Metal Gear Solid 4 disc in my PS3 and play it. As of right now, the rumors indicate that that's not what's happening. It's going to be a select few games, and it might be on a like rotational basis, like each month, like we kind of see with PS2 and PSP and PS1. So that's kind of where we are right now. Mark Cerny working on it. I don't know, man. I think back to the reveal of the PlayStation 5. Do you guys remember this? Or not the reveal, but when Mark Cerny was talking about the PS5. He was talking all about how he built the PS5 and what went into it. And there was this one screen where it was PS3, or no, it was PS5 and PS4 games for like, and it was like listing like backwards compatibility. And I don't know if there were other games listed there, or other systems, but people were. Let me see if I can find this image. I just remember this image popping up, and people kind of thought that like it was an interesting looking image because it looked like there were supposed to be other like systems listed, you know? And there was room. Maybe you guys remember what image I'm talking about. Let me see. Yeah, okay, it's this one here. It says backwards compatibility. At the top, it says PS5 native mode, PS4 Pro legacy mode, PS4 legacy mode. And then below that, there's clearly room. Like there's a whole half missing where underneath PS4 you could easily fit PS3, PS2, and PS1. And I remember at the time when people saw this, they were like, "Oh, they're clearly hinting that they're going to do this." Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was. Maybe this whole time that is what he was hinting at. But yeah, it seems like it is something Sony is planning to bring back. True backwards compatibility. Oops, sorry. True backwards compatibility isn't profitable, especially if you have a lot of physical copies. Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. You mentioned the game Homefront. Homefront 2 sucks. Dude, I forgot about those games. Homefront. I remember the first Homefront. People were kind of talking about that like it's going to be a Call of Duty killer or something. Am I misremembering? I feel like people were actually talking about it that way, which was so weird because I'm like I don't think so, guys. I don't think so. Mag. I never did play Mag. Mag sounded like such an interesting game, but I never did play it. Ironically, Halo killed itself. You know what is profitable? People buying PlayStation 6s because of having true PS2 compatibility. Mm. Mag ran at 15 frames per second. Haze, I remember, dude. I remember Haze. Some of these games, dude. Dude? That generation was so weird in some ways. Like it really was. I mean, every generation has a little bit of weirdness, you know. But something about the PS3 gen had like an added layer of weirdness. The dialogue in Haze was absurd. You kind of missed that a little bit, though. Well, I feel like those games still exist, but now they're, I don't know, you don't see games like that. You don't really see like just terrible games like that. I mean, like really bad games marketed in such a big way. You played Haze recently using uh, M Classic, and it was off an SSD. It was a better game playing it that way. Best Buy employee told you years ago Haze was a Halo killer. That's so funny, dude. I feel like there was another game besides Haze. Wasn't there another first person shooter that was like it was supposed to be the next big thing and it was just a mega flop? You're saying the Getaway would be cool to bring back. I agree, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. Oh my oh god, dude. Oh man, you reminded me of something I wanted to talk to you guys about. Bringing up the Getaway. The reason why the Getaway reminded me um is because of the studio, London studio that was recently shut down. Dude, hold on. I got to see if I can find this. Dude, there was a picture I saw recently. I saw it in one of Mystic's recent videos. I think it was his news video. Shout out to Mystic. But like it was the concept art for this Sony London multiplayer game. And I can't find it, dude. Like I know you guys know the first piece of concept art. But there was a second piece of concept art that I'd never seen where it showed the characters standing side by side and it looked so fucking bad, dude. I need to find this image. It looked so bad that I'm literally like, listen, I feel sorry for the people, obviously, who were working at the studio, but I'm just very glad Sony did not commit to making this game because it was clearly going to be a dumpster fire. I really need to find this picture though to show you guys. I might just have to bring Mystic's video up potentially. I don't know where he got this image, but it was like an official piece of concept art. All right, I'm just gonna have to go to his video and bring it up. You guys have to see this. So, just to give you a little bit of context, Sony London, they were recently shut down, unfortunately. But Sony London, for the past couple years before they were shut down, was working on a live service multiplayer game. And this game was described as a live service fantasy multiplayer game. Hold on, let me see if I can. Where did he talk about this? I have to show you guys this image. What video did Mystic talk about? I'm sorry, guys. I'm like hellbent. So I think I'm on the wrong video. Was it his latest video talking about PS? I think it might be his latest video talking about PSVR 2. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I found it. I got to show you guys this. Like, cuz I don't know where he got this image, dude. Give me a second. I'll bring it up. So, the context here, what you are looking at is apparently official concept art from Sony London's canceled multiplayer game that they were working on for PS5. And we had another piece of concept art which showed like a dragon, but dude, look at this. Look at how fucking bad this looks, dude. This looks like it. I don't even know. I can't even begin to imagine what this game was going to be like. Looks like Concord, dude. It looks. I don't like. This is one of those games where like I know what this game is. Is this is not Concord, believe it or not. No, this was Sony London's canceled live service multiplayer fantasy game, and it just looks so bad. Like, what are these teams like? I just don't understand, man. Like, what are these teams doing? Look at this. Looks like AI, dude. It does. It looks horrible. It like listen. It looks like ultra cringe nonsense. Look at the shirt. Hashtag troll. Like, are you kidding me, dude? Volcano high vibes. Exactly, dude. This is why I'm saying, like, holy hell. Maybe I think they may have made the right. Like, what was going on at Sony London, bro? The reason why I thought about this is because somebody mentioned a moment ago that like it would be cool to get another Getaway, and this is the studio that made the Getaway. I think, yeah, no, Sony London made the Getaway, and I'm like, we're not getting the Getaway. We're getting this. We're getting whatever this is. This is where I start to really question what Sony's doing sometimes, man. You know, and I'm not even just gonna blame Sony, like the development team and shit too. Like who did this? I just want to know, man. I know it's just concept art, but like, come on, bro. Like I think we just all kind of have some kind of understanding. Like we're just kind of like looking at each other like, Sony, about that Getaway reboot. Explains the closure. I mean, there's another piece of concept art, but we've seen that one many times. And like, listen, when we saw the first piece of concept art, I remember saying to people, okay, it doesn't look like it'll be my type of game, and I'm not trying to judge it immediately just based off of concept art, but I'll give it a chance and we'll see when they're ready to show it off. And then after I saw this very recently, I was like, dude, this is the one that does it for me. This is the one where it's like, yeah, I can't, dude. Like, I can't. I don't know what this is. I don't want to know what this is. And the good news is we'll never know what this is. This is Jim Ryan's vision. This is why Jim Ryan had to retire. Like, bro, Jim, you don't know what you're doing, bro. You don't know what you're doing. Get the F out of here. All right. God, I don't know, man. This image, I just can't get this image out of my head. It's so cursed. Like, it's just so cursed, dude. Really quick, like, look at the wolf. Look at his hand. Yeah, cool. We're cool, dude. Cool. Like, I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. Look at how buff. Look at this. I just noticed this. Look at how ripped I guess, is that what is that? Hold on. What is this thing on the bike? Look at how ripped their legs are compared to their upper body. Wait, hold on. Look at this. Its legs are fucking jacked. Look at those calves, bro. And then, like, the arms are just puny. You think it's a troll? Is it a troll? I don't know. It kind of looks like it could be. This is cursed, bro. Like, a part of me almost wants to see what this game was going to be. All right. Well, we can throw that into the ether. RIP London Studio, though. I mean, it sucks that they got shut down. But it's a troll rider. What is this from? This is from Sony London's canceled multiplayer game. I think what makes me the most sad about Sony London getting shut down, knowing that this was the last project they were working on, is like, they could have been making something for PSVR 2, like a sequel to Blood and Truth or something, or again, they could have been rebooting The Getaway, or just a new single player IP. Like, I just like, what? I don't mean to sound so whiny or just like perplexed, but I just really wonder, like, what is it that makes game companies think like, yup, this is what we gotta lean into? Hey, stop that. Stop. Don't you chew my wires. I'll never understand, man. I'll never understand. Well, I'm sorry I had to subject you guys to that. I do apologize. But, if that has to live in my head rent-free, you guys have to see it too. Losing Sony Japan is even more depressing. Yeah. Listen, man, I really do wish I could have more insight into what went on behind the scenes with Sony, because I don't know, man. When it comes to Jim Ryan's departure, it was one of two things. That dude was just like, all right, my work here's done. Peace. It was that. And Sony was like, oh shit, okay, we weren't ready for that. Or it really was like, Jim, listen, we appreciate the fact that you didn't destroy the PS5, but you fucked up. Like, you made some mistakes, and you gotta go. So we're giving, please step down. I really wonder what it was, dude, because when I look at some of this stuff, I really do wonder, like, I don't know, man, like, whose decision, like, I want to know who got the final say in purchasing, like, Firewalk Studio and Haven Studio. Who, like, was that? I feel like that had to have been Jim Ryan, right? Like I don't think Herman Hulst was the head of PlayStation at that PlayStation Studios. He wasn't the CEO. He was the head of PlayStation Studios. Like I feel like Jim Ryan was the one who's like, yeah, we should buy Haven. Like we should buy Firewall. Like he made this decision where it's like we need to buy these studios that have never made a game and are unproven. And I do wonder if that's Jim makes a decision, but the recommendation is from Herman. Yeah, I do. I just would like to know how these processes work. We're gonna find out. Now that Herman Hulst has full reign, we're gonna know how many of these decisions were Herman boss. Hey, boss, bro, do not. I'm sorry, you guys just had to get flashed for a moment there. Boss has no respect. He's not supposed to be up here. I'm sorry. The end. The We're an hour and a half into the stream. It's disastrous. You know, I'm showing you horrific concept art, and boss is flashing you guys. I apologize. Didn't expect cat butt in your face. I forgot to put my little thing up here to block it. Go. You gotta go. Don't give me that look. He's so bad, dude. He's good most of the time when he's chilling, but somebody drop a 20 bomb so we can feed boss a couple of snacks. If somebody drops a 20 bomb, we'll feed boss a couple. He wants the snacks. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules, bro. Look at the show. Sony didn't have all the live service games. They decided everyone didn't want to play. That was the no games. Yeah, I do wonder what the trajectory of PlayStation looks like now that you know Jim Ryan is officially retired. Hiroki Totoki is no longer the interim CEO. Herman Hulst, Hideaki Nishino are now joint CEOs. Apparently, there's a PS5 Pro coming. Um, Boss is messing with me, dude. I can't see Concord exist for a year. I mean, I've decided I'm gonna try it. I don't think he's here right now, but one of our channel members, IP Gaming, he offered to um he offered to give me a beta code when he gets them. And so I'll give it I'll like at least try to play. You know, I don't want to be so stingy with like I feel like that's where I have to kind of be more willing to force myself to try stuff I might not want to because it's like listen, one of the things I do tell people here on the channel is like this is a PlayStation channel. The least I can do is, you know, cover these games and tell and you know what I mean? Like at the very least, that's what I could do. Even if I don't really want to play Concord, I'm gonna give it a shot. At least in the beta. You know, if I play the beta and it's like, damn, this is actually terrible. Like this is as bad as I thought it would be. I'll let you know, and I'll be like, well, at least I tried it. You know, um, so that's what we'll do. All right, boss, talking to the mic. Tell the people what you want. What do you want? Snacks. I love how he looks like he's actually getting ready to speak into the mic too. He's like, "How do you feel about PS3 backwards compatibility, boss? Let us know." Imagine you end up loving Concord. That'd be crazy. How crazy would that be? Guys, I thought this was going to be the worst game ever. I'm actually having fun. Yeah, PS Gamer. That's another game that is on my backlog. Yeah. Zanarkand with another super chat saying MBG saw on YouTube that Metal Gear Online may be remade. Where did you see this? Zanarkand, tell me right now. Tell me right now. Where did you hear this? I must know. Have I played Shadow of the Erd Tree? Not yet, no. I'm going back to Demon Souls for a little bit. Platinuming Elden Ring kind of gave me the itch to go back to Demon Souls, and then I might come back to Elden Ring and play Shadow of the Erd Tree. We have a figuratively literal here. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. You're saying Luke Stevens had a good video on this. Jim Ryan departure came just after Hiroki got promoted, and he would have reviewed PlayStation. Could be linked. Yeah, you know what I think? I still have this running theory because that's true. That's true that the timing of all that. Hiroki Totoki, he's like the money guy at Sony, you know? Um, I could see a situation where Hiroki Totoki and he's looking at Jim Ryan's tenure as the CEO, and he's like, "Listen, Jim, it could have been worse. Like you didn't destroy everything, but you have spent too much money. Like the spending is out of control with the acquisitions, the game budgets being $300 million. Just stuff like that. I could see that being a reason. And at the time, it looked like Bungie was not in a good place. I could see that being a thing where it's like, Jim, we just can't, we can't anymore. And maybe Jim, honestly, I don't think Jim was asked to retire. I don't think he was asked to retire. I think what would have happened is he would have got demoted. I think he would have got demoted. He would have still been part of PlayStation, very high ranking, but he wouldn't be the CEO anymore. And I think in Jim Ryan's mind, he probably was just like, nah, like I'll go out while I'm on top. 30 plus years, it's a career. I'm good. And he's an older dude. So I think like retirement made sense for him. I don't think he was asked to retire. I think it just made sense. I think he was asked to. I do think Jim may have been asked to step down as CEO. You think he was booted out? So Jim Ryan was real? Maybe in the end. Maybe in the end. Don't come over here. Don't come over here. Don't do it. I'm only gonna listen. I'm breaking my rule. We're supposed to get to 25 members before I feed the beast, but he's really. I'm just gonna give him like 5 treats. We talked about how we have to cut back a little bit, so let me count them out here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on, boss. Hold on. Chill. All right, I'm gonna give you 5 treats. All right. They're going to be gone in literally 10 seconds. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 seconds. Probably more like 12 or 13, and they're gone. Man. This cat, bro. The California crowd just didn't like Jim's view on that subject. Which one? Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was a while ago. Dude, I hope it's not something like that'd be so stupid, dude. I mean, let's face it, like Sony's HQ is in California, and I think that's a problem. but they got to just chill a little bit. You know, just a little bit. All right, let's see where we're at. Okay, so guys, here's what I'm going to do. I'm thinking I'm going to end this stream early today. I didn't want this to be a long stream, but I didn't necessarily want to. There's like not really much PlayStation news right now. So I was originally going to make a news video, but then I realized there's actually not enough news. Hold on. Boss, you're being bad. I just gave you snacks. You're being bad. Stop trying to knock my setup over. I was originally going to make a news video, but there honestly really wasn't enough to like put together. Stuff we already covered, of course. But yeah, I think I'm going to end this stream here. Is PlayStation? Yeah, I think PlayStation Stars is still down, unfortunately. But we'll just keep this a pretty short stream. We only have a single topic talking about this PS3 rumor. And yeah. So also, I think this is like the earliest I'm going to end a stream. I kind of want to do it because I want to experiment a little bit. I want to use this as like a bit of an experiment. I want to see how much view, like if I want to see if the stream gets any more views after the fact. Since I'm ending it early, it's like less daunting for people to click on, like 3.5 hours versus like an hour and a half. So, guys, before I head out, I do want to thank you for stopping by, for watching the stream. I want to thank everybody who dropped any membership gifts and anybody who dropped any super chats. I really appreciate the support. And also want to shout out Devil Shooter for doing the timestamps. Although, Devil Shooter, listen, if you're listening to this, I'll be honest with you, man. You can do timestamps for this one. I don't know if you already did. It's not a big deal if you don't, because it's really short. And, we pretty much talked about the PS3 for the majority of this. Just a few little side quests there. But, all right, guys, that does it. Boss is driving me nuts, so I'm going to take care of this situation here with him. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. So, until then, take care, everyone. I'm going to freak out on Boss, man. Stop. Hey, stop that. Take care, guys.